The following program, Know the Cause, is paid for by Pediatric Incorporated.
You know, I was reading online the other day, thousands are struck down by incurable fungus on the West Coast dubbed the new American epidemic. It's all about a fungus that lives in soil and sand. We call it Vally fever here. This was published in the UK, but they say it's this epidemic, a fungal epidemic. Gee, be still my heart. There are lots of fungi out there that can injure us, folks. Vally fever has been around forever. They're finally being able to accurately diagnose it. You're going to enjoy the opening of the show, and then we're going to go to Dr. Debora Bain. Dr. Bain has been a friend of mine for many years. She's written a book called Living Out of the Box. I talked to her about tummy problems in kids, vaccines, deliveries, etc., all sorts of good things. Dr. Frank King, been a friend of mine for even longer. He is a homeopathist, and he's going to talk about addressing the cause. He's on Know the Cause, understanding the cause and what homeopathy might do to help alleviate the symptomatology. And finally, I did a report on CT scans, mammograms, CT scans, and so forth. There's always a risk to benefit ratio, and you, the patient, need to make that decision. Here we go.
For the past 45 years, I have dedicated my life and my whole career to finding the root cause of disease. And I now know with certainty that we must play a role in our own health care. I'm a self-care advocate, and you know what? Every time you change your diet for the better, exercise, or swallow a nutritional supplement, so are you. Now welcome to Know the Cause.
You know, I read a recent headline out of the UK, Daily Mail out of England, and here's what it said. Thousands are struck down by incurable fungus on the West Coast, dubbed the new American epidemic. Thousands are struck down by an incurable fungus, dubbed the new American epidemic. By the by, folks, coccidioidomycosis is a disease that when you inhale Coccidio immitis fungus from soil or sand, you get. And if your immune system is strong, you make antibodies and life goes on. If you're a little weakened or older, as I am, and you're struck by that, it can really take you down. It can mimic many other diseases, and it can really take you down. The way the human immune system works is once exposed to a poison, like coccidio, you make an antibody, and there you go. You have immunomemory and immunorecognition. Next time coccidio comes up, I recognize that guy, get out of here, okay? Let's study this. Vally fever, it's called, a fungal infection that goes by many names and is often misdiagnosed. Valley fever, cocci, California fever, desert rheumatism, and San Joaquin Valley fever, okay? Valley fever, folks, it's always been there. Look, go to Leviticus. The Bible references mildew and fungus. It's always been there. Medical schools don't. And so what does a doctor, when he graduates, he doesn't know about coccidioidomycosis. Many of them don't today. But we're seeing more and more cases of sick people, and we're not just randomly pulling out a prescription, putting them on antibiotics. We want to know the cause. And this one's fairly simple. Take a swab of their saliva and see if it isn't this, okay? Thousands of Americans, there's the headline again, thousands of Americans have been struck down by an incurable fungus on the West Coast. It's the new epidemic. Got its name because the majority of cases are found in Arizona and California. It's a deadly lung infection that kills 1 in 100 people that contract it. This year, the numbers have spiked to about 10,000 in California, which is a 46% increase from last year. Can I just pause for a second? I don't think it's because there are that many cases out there. I think doctors are finally getting it. 6-7 years ago, the Center for Disease Control here in America started asking doctors, remember their headline, their tagline? Think fungus. Doctor, if your antibiotics don't work, try antifungals. Think fungus. And I think more and more doctors who didn't learn this in medical training for reasons I don't know, are beginning to pick it up and now diagnosing accurately this condition, okay? Symptoms may be misdiagnosed as pneumonia. fever, cough, fatigue, aching muscles, breathlessness, night sweats, joint aches, red rash, usually on the legs, but occasionally on the chest and arms. Disseminating coccidioidomycosis can spread via the bloodstream. The heart pumps it, boom, 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 and enters the brain where it can cause life-threatening meningitis. Antifungal medications are sometimes ineffective. Most cases are found in Phoenix, Tucson, Arizona areas. It's a problem. And I've even studied this, and I think people flying low, smaller planes, over Arizona, if they have recirculating cockpit air, back into the plane, may be exposed to this. It's okay if you're healthy. It's not okay if you're on chemotherapy or on AIDS medication or something like that. Antifungal agents are not recommended. This comes out of American Family Physicians 4 years ago. Not recommended for treatment unless the patient is at risk or shows signs or complication of a disseminating fungal infection. When antifungals are used, diflucan and Sporanox are the most commonly recommended, except during pregnancy. Treatment may continue for as long as 3 to 12 months, although lifetime treatment is indicated for patients with coccidial meningitis. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And finally, they're starting to recognize it. And finally, although commonly acquired, overt coccidioidomycosis is a rare disease. Chronic infections occur in 1 out of every 100,000 people. Although anyone can get coccidioidomycosis, farm laborers, construction workers who dig down into the dirt, archaeologists who work where it is dusty are at greater risk to become infected. Diagnosing of this disease is made by a culture of the swab of the mouth, the sputum, or other body fluids to isolate the fungus. It's really that simple. Doctor, I'm not getting better on all these antibiotics, and I've been to Arizona. Could you take a culture? Could I spit and let you swab it and send it off to a lab? Wow, wouldn't that be powerful? Okay, always consider that secondary diagnosis when you're not getting better.
We should not be coercing or forcing anyone to inject any kind of chemical into their body. You would not have surgery unless you had true informed consent. And the problem is, you're just being told it's time for your 2-month shots, and you're not even being told what they're getting that day.
I don't know about you, but I have so many questions why a child today is receiving, 40, 50, 60 vaccinations by the time they're 18 years old. What about by the time they're 18 months old? How many do they get then? And Dr. Debora Bain joins us right now. She has written a book that I love, Living Out of the Box, a must read, a night, 2-night read. Really a good book. And it will jam mom and dad and grandma and grandpa's brain with information about what's going on in the field of pediatrics. However, you step over that pediatric line, sometimes when you talk about the immune system, not only of children, but of adults, teach us a little bit about the prompting of the immune system with the multiplicity of vaccinations that we have today.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, and I know, look, you're open, you vaccinate, you have children. But I'm just wondering, as I saw the number go from, I had a sugar cube with polio vaccine, 100 years ago. Then there were 2, then there were 4, then there were 6.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
In the 80s, we had somewhere about 6 to 8 vaccines. They didn't even start before age 2. Now there's at least 36 vaccines in the first 2 years of life, and that doesn't even include the brand new RSV, flu shots in kids 6 months and older. So my whole philosophy in our practice, we're not anti-vax at all. It's too much too soon in the wrong kid is not okay.
You put a graphic together on the immune system that I thought was a home run. Let me share it with people, and you go over it with them.
Sure. So kids are just sicker nowadays, and there's so much more C-section birth and antibiotic exposure that 70% of the immune system's in the gut. There's more signals from the brain to the gut than the gut is the gut to the brain than the brain is to the gut. Right. So if we have some unhealthy bacteria, we're not detoxing well, we're not absorbing our nutrients, so that leads to inflammation, potentially developing some food sensitivities or food allergies. My kids with head-to-toe eczema, it's a gut issue. It's too much toxins that are coming in, not enough leaving. My constipated kids, it's all about, that evolution of this immune system in trouble. So, and then you develop these nutrient deficiencies, whether it's vitamins, minerals, amino acids, whatever it looks like. All of those are necessary for phase 1 and phase 2 detox. It's science. So if we don't have what we need to detox, guess what? We can't detox. And then we have this perpetual cycle of being sick.
You know, what these other doctors are telling me is very much in line with what you say and you talk about in the book, living out of the box. And that is maybe wait. That child's going to be around, what, 90 years? Maybe wait a couple of years before this, in my humble opinion, onslaught of, vaccinations. And it's the ingredients. I used to be worried about thimerosal, like in the flu shot. Gee, isn't that a mercury derivative? But today there are other things in these injections. And I understand, Dr. Bain, these are proprietary formulations. They don't want to write down what's in, that. But let's do it a little slower is my whole approach to this.
Sure, and in my practice, we give people choice.
Yeah.
And that's how it always should be. We should not be coercing or forcing anyone to inject any kind of chemical into their body. You would not have surgery unless you had true informed consent. And the problem is, you're just being told it's time for your 2-month shots, and you're not even being told what they're getting that day.
Yeah, you put together this, I thought was so perfect, because on an earlier show I asked you, and this has been at your symposiums, what's wrong with our kids today? And I love this.
Right, it's definitely a perfect storm. So you're getting too much chemicals coming in, you got a poor diet, you have your genetic predispositions, family history of all sorts of neurological things, dad has ADHD, or, there's an autoimmune condition in the mom, with Hashimoto's or something. All of that epigenetics is really a big contributor to why our kids are not healthy today.
You add on food. We see the same boxes, folks. When we go to the cereal aisle of a store, they look like the same boxes when you and I were kids. A little bit different today. Highly processed foods. Just think about that if you have grandchildren or children. Better yet, pick up a copy. Inexpensive, Living Out of the Box. My guest today, Dr. Debora Bain, has written a couple of books, just amazing. She got out of hospital pediatrics into a private practice that's out here in Frisco, Texas, called healthyKidsPediatrics.com, and doing a wonderful job. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for this book.
You're welcome, thank you.
So I landed home from Vietnam. I was out in the field, trained in emergency and trauma medicine by the Navy as a corpsman. Landed and I took a job with a guy named Howard Gottschalk, an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and we started doing allergy tests. And folks, I have always had an interest in homeopathy, always. How can I take a 1 to a million dilution of something and I feel so much better? How can that be? The basis of homeopathy, we've got one of the greatest people in it with us right now, Dr. Frank King. Dr. King, thank you for joining us right now.
Always a great honor.
I went to work with Howard. We started doing allergy testing. So you provoke a dose, a wheal, and then you get a relieving dose. Not the big dose you gave him, but a relieving dose. You titer it way down. And then you combine all those trees, weeds, grasses, and you start giving allergy shots. Am I wrong, or is that one of the very definitions of homeopathy? Yet no allergist would ever admit what he's doing in his office might be homeopathic.
Yes, Doug, it's quite fascinating. Immunotherapy, they call it, with the allergy shots. And it is using the homeopathic principle of likes cure likes. A serial dilution of something that will cause a problem. You take it in an more energetic way, and it awakens our body to be able to respond in the right way to overcome the allergy. It is a crude form of homeopathy. You don't really need the shots. You can take it orally, and your body can process it even more deeply to actually correct the cause. And that's what homeopathy is all about, is, as you so well coined, correcting the cause.
Know the cause, right? And you know what? You would love this, Dr. King. I used to, I got the doctor's approval. There were now several doctors. In a child, instead of injecting it intradermally, I'd squirt it under their tongue and tell mom, hold it for a minute. No, tell your kids, hold on to it for a minute. And maybe it's psychological, but those sublingual dilutions tended to help these little guys more than the injectable. You know, I mean, it's really, homeopathy has always fascinated me. You're one of the only people I knew that kind of went from human to animal, cat and dog products you have also. Teach us about that.
Yes, you know, it's quite fascinating. Because of the serial dilutions in homeopathy and what we call succussions, it is a very labor-intensive process to make. But you're making especially the higher potencies, which are more serial dilutions and succussions, and this works deeper. So the higher potencies, which is more serial dilutions and succussions, work deeper in our body. And so a lot of people, because we even go beyond the molecular level, because we're treating something bigger as a whole person, the nervous system, the acupuncture system, awakening it, those systems to respond properly, is awakening our energetic control networks to function better. And that awakens and strengthens our constitution, makes us stronger, healthier people in overcoming the problems that we deal with. So they always said that, you know, critics will say, well, homeopathy is, it's got to be placebo. But the unique thing we've found is that animals and infants both respond to homeopathy, even in a greater way. So, and there is no placebo in those scenarios.
You know, you quoted on another show we did with you, about 55% of the globe, people in the world, use homeopathy, and doctors are aware of it in other countries. Here in America, what was the stat here in America of those who use or know of homeopathy?
Only approximately 2% of the U.S. population, sadly. And why we're the sickest.
Yeah, and we're the sickest. Isn't that interesting? If you're as hungry as I was and am, and so proud to have met Dr. Frank King on my travels, we lectured together and so forth, go to King Bio, Kingbio, kingbio.com. Folks, these are not statin drugs. You don't take it and have your cholesterol go down. Homeopathy is a discipline, and it takes a while to begin working. That's what we learned with our kids, our pets, and ourselves. Dr. King, God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, at a time when admittedly we're hyperdiagnosing medical conditions, we're overdiagnosing so many medical conditions. These aren't bad people, these are sharp people, smart people, twice my IQ. But folks, behind every successful doctor, there's a lawyer. And if you don't do everything per what the legal system and the medical system says, toughness can occur. CT scans with contrast, without contrast, CT scans, they are done so many times, and they help the physician get a better picture of what's really going on inside the body. You need to weigh the risks and the benefits, okay? That's all. CT scan, a computed tomography scan, is an elaborate type of x-ray that enables the doctors to see inside the body with remarkable detail. Like every medical procedure, it is up to the patient, because the doctor, I believe, is going to do it. Like every medical procedure, the risk to benefit ratio must be weighed. Does that make sense? You know, doctor, I've had this shoulder that's so bad, can you take an x-ray? Well, we don't do x-rays anymore. We do CT with contrast, or we do, you know, just these remarkable things. Before we go into that, doc, can you just tell me, is radiation involved? You know, tell me a little bit about this. Okay, let's keep talking. Often these scans are used to determine injury following an accident. CT scans set a headline in Time magazine. CT scans in childhood can triple the risk of cancer. I kid you not. Do our doctors know this? Again, good people. This isn't something they take a class in medical school about. In the previous study to track the benefit of CT scans treating children with head injury, 2% showed a positive result that required some type of additional treatment. That means that 1 in 50 children who get a CT scan benefited from the head CT. compared to 1 in 10,000 who might develop brain cancer or leukemia from the same scan. What this magazine, folks, written by the medical community, is saying is, don't worry. Remote chance you could get brain cancer from this, but there's a 1 in 50 chance we could find something that X-ray wouldn't show us, okay? Between 96 and 2010, the use of CT scans nearly tripled, said the article. Typically, the dose of radiation required for CT scans are about 10 times those required for conventional X-rays. While the test can have great benefit, it can also have potential to cause real and significant risk. You don't hear this. You never hear this. So I'm teaching you this. CT scans can help prevent the fear of malpractice lawsuits. With the potential long-term risks associated with exposure to CT radiation, however, experts warn that it's high time we step back and make sure that each scan is necessary and can provide justifiable health benefits. Can I get an amen? I don't believe that's being done. I don't think doctors are bad people. I believe they see technology that would let them see the intricacies of the brain, that would help them diagnose a condition more accurately, but it's exposing the child to 10 times more radiation than an X-ray. And finally, this, always consider the risk to benefits. A mammogram exposes a woman to about 0.4 millisieverts of radiation. A CT scan of the abdomen, belly, and pelvis exposes a person to about 10 millisieverts. A PT-CT scan exposes a person to about 25 millisieverts of radiation. If you have concerns about the radiation, and I think you should, you may get from a CT scan, PET scan, or other imaging test that uses radiation, just talk to your doctor, folks. That's the best way to go and say, I'm worried. Can we talk before we do this? Hope that helps.
Hi everybody, Erin here with Eat, Pray, Get Well. If you have mold-induced sinus infections, I have a tip for you on how to keep your respiratory system healthy. If you are getting ready to go on a plane and stay in a hotel where you have no idea of the air quality, or maybe get in a friend's car and it smells kind of moldy, I have a whole arsenal of things that I do here. And the reason I have so many is we know you have to rotate your antifungals. And I have some silver hydrosol, I've got xylitol, oil of oregano, and grapefruit seed extract. And they are wonderful antifungals, antimicrobial, antiviral, and it's a wonderful way to stay healthy because mold only takes a couple hours to start growing in our respiratory tract, so be ready. Erin for Know the Cause.
Friends, Dr. Frank King, King Bio. Go to kingbio.com and learn more about what he does. Folks, I believe in homeopathy just like I believe in dentistry or allopathic doctors or naturopathic doctors. It's another discipline out there that we can use when the others seem to fail us, okay? CT scans, mammograms, let the buyer beware, caveat emptor. Folks, you always need to know the risks and the benefits. Your doctor may not tell you this. I'm telling you this. There are risks and there are benefits to these scans. Do I think far too many are being done? Yep, but that's between you and your doctor. The opening of the show, coccidio, Valley fever. It's a huge problem. It's always been a huge problem. Doctors are now recognizing it. So it's becoming, dare I say the word, huger problem. As more doctors recognize the F word, fungus, they're able to recognize Valley fever. And then thank you, Dr. Bain, a wonderful book, Living Out of the Box. Short read, brilliant. Thanks for being with us. God bless you.
The preceding program, Know the Cause, was paid for by Pediatrician Incorporated.